Hi, everybody. Kí là ń ṣe tí a fi pọ̀ tó wọ̀nyí o Utopia Theatre? Kí là ń ṣe tí a fi pọ̀ tó wọ̀nyí o Utopia Theatre? Kí là ń ṣe tí a fi pọ̀ tó wọ̀nyí o Creative Hub? Thank you, Anton. Well, the meaning of that song is, why is it that we're all together today? There's so many of us in this room. What are we doing all coming together? We're here to celebrate the Creative Hub. We're here to celebrate Utopia Theatre and to support the Creative Hub. What is the Creative Hub? Well, the Creative Hub is an initiative by Utopia Theatre set up to ensure that there is a way to create some visibility for the work that we as African theatre practitioners do. And we've gathered together a whole range of leading experts and leading artists from our industry to showcase what they do. But not only that, to also give them an opportunity to allow the world to see the creativity that we have in this industry, and also to create a talent pool of the next generation of artists. And why is this important? We all talk about representation within our industry. We all talk about the fact that there's not enough representation of people of color within this industry. And this Creative Hub is part of what Utopia Theatre is doing in order to address that issue. And I feel that we can all do a little bit that I do and a little bit that you do would be what it is that is going to tackle some of the issues that we've all been talking about in the last few months, and also recently as a result of some of the events that's been in the media. So I would like to use this opportunity to thank all of the people who have been involved in making this happen. I would like to thank the Arts Council who've given us the funding to be able to make this happen. They put their money where their mouth is. I would also like to thank the people who play lottery, the lottery players, because but for them, this would not be happening. I would like to thank all our partners. You can see a list of them on our website because it would take me too long to be able to go through all their names. And also, I would like to thank you, the audience, who have joined us today to launch this event with us and to support us. We're really, really grateful for your support. So I would ask Chiwe, who is our operations manager, to now take over. Thank you all.
Thanks so much, Moji, a woman of hidden talents. I didn't know you could sing. That was really amazing. Thank you so much. Everybody, welcome to the launch of Utopia Theatre's Creative Hub. It's been a few months in the making, and what a wonderful, wonderful platform that we've managed to create. And we're really happy to have you. And thanks so much to all the creatives that have become a part of this amazing project. And we're looking forward to hosting you for the remainder of the next 6 months. So today we are going to be getting to know the creatives behind the project. I'll be asking them who they are. They'll be telling you what they do, why they do it, and what to them in one word African theatre is, and what they're going to be contributing to the program. Then we'll take a break. During the break, you'll be entertained by Patrice with his amazing flutes. After that, we'll all come back here and you're all going to participate in a discussion, and an open discussion on what African theatre is. We'll take another break, and a whole lot of the artists, the creatives that are here, are going to be performing to you in an amazing, amazing event today. So if you could just look, use the chat facility to interact with us. Let us know where you're watching from today, and just give us a hi and a how's it. We'll really be grateful for that. So thank you very much. I'll go straight into the creatives. Hello, creatives. Just a thumbs up somewhere, a wave. Hello. Thanks a lot. So Deza, where are you? I can't see you right now. Could you just tell us a bit about who you are, what you do, and in one word, what African theatre is and why people should actually come to your sessions?
Hello, everybody. My name is Shadisa Greenaway-Bailey. I am a performance designer, a scenic artist, and a carnival artist. For me, in one word, African theatre is diaspora. And to tell you a little bit more about my workshop, I'll be doing a talk with a fellow designer, Natalie Price. That will be chaired by Alison Holder, who is a producer, talking about performance design. My experiences so far in the arts. I've worked in the arts for the past 15 years, and answering questions about my experiences and what it is to be a designer within theatre. That's me. I look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you very much, and apologies for mispronouncing your name. I think I'll struggle a bit today, so apologies in advance, everybody. Oladipo, could you tell us about yourself, your what you're going to be doing with us, and also one word literally, about what African theatre is to you?
Hi, everyone. My name is Oladipo Agbuluaje. I'm a playwright. I'm also a tutor in creative writing, post-colonial theatre, and African performance. I'll be leading 3 workshops on playwriting. One will be an introductory course, and the other 2 will be about how to create plays, character-based dramas. In one word, African theatre to me means life. Thank you.
Stunning, love that, life, yeah. That's the vibrancy of African theatre. Akim Toussaint Burke, please tell us all about you. Please unmute your microphone.
Yes. Hi everyone, my name is Akim Toussaint Burke, and I am a movement director, dancer, choreographer, beatboxer, and a poet. So I have an interdisciplinary practice, and I'll be leading the movement direction workshops, where I'll be sharing my practice in terms of what I do within theatre and within dance. Well, one word to describe African theatre for me, I would have to say my favorite is the storytelling. Storytelling. It's the all-encompassing involvement of the storytelling within African theatre.
Thank you very much. Amazing. And just to let everybody know, our website is utopiatheatre.co.uk/the Creative Hub. Look online to see everything that the creatives are telling you at the moment. Dr. Anita Franklin. You're muted, Anita. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anita Franklin. I am a playwright and an actor and an educator. I do adult education and university lecturing. In one word, for me, African theater is survival, and particularly survival of African peoples throughout the world. I'm privileged to be able to run a course on some classics of African theater. So in my online course, what we're doing is we're looking at 6 plays from the 1960s on through the 1990s. And in that way, you get a chance to explore the very rich history of African theater during that particular time.
Thanks a lot, Anita. Can I just ask that all the creatives mute their microphones when somebody else is speaking, please? That would really be appreciated. Boss Lady, Mojisola Elofoji, what will you be delivering for the Creative Hub? Your microphone's muted.
Oh gosh, yeah. Okay, great. I'll be delivering 2 workshops. So one is how to set up your own theatre company, and the other one is around how you apply for funding to fund obviously any projects that you're working on. I'm a theatre director, and there's so many amazing theatre directors on this program, so I kind of felt like it would be great to just hear from other people and deal with workshops that are areas where nobody else is covering for now. So what does African theatre mean to me? African theatre for me means culture.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, boss. Ayodele Edwards, the sensational Ayodele Edwards, talk to us then.
Morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Ayodele Edwards. I'm an actress, a singer-songwriter, a podcast host, and an emerging theatre maker. I'm going to be sharing about my journey as an actress and the challenges that I faced in the industry and what pushed me to create my own show. Theatre for me, African theatre in one word is freedom.
Thank you very much. That's beautiful. And the amazing Patrice Nibbana, please come through. Tell us all about who you are, what you're doing, what you do, what you're going to do for the Creative Hub, and one word of what African theatre is to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Mademoiselle Chihana. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Patrice Nibbana. I'm an African performing artist, and I've spent the last 35 years developing ensembles and labs that look at apprenticeships, diaspora consciousness, and roots to human flourishing in communities using the vast skills that we have. That's what I do. And what I'll be doing during this wonderful platform is taking people from the griot or the solo performer, storyteller, all the way up through various projects that I've done in a number of communities, working with ensembles that are directly looking to impact their communities or societies. And African theatre, in one word, you give me two words and I must say one word.
One and a half, go ahead then.
What it means to me is African theatre is African.
Absolutely, thank you very much.
That's what it means.
And down from the southern, okay, thank you very much, Patrice. Down from the southern part of the world where I come from, I've got Lesedi Job on there.
Hi, everyone. I am Lesedi Job. I am a South African actress, voice artist, and theatre director. I will be having a conversation with Karishma Bagani, who is a Kenyan writer, director, and dramaturg, about my experiences as a South African storyteller, specifically a young Black South African woman within the South African theatre industry, and looking also at what's happening with storytelling on the African continent in the time of the digital age. Where are we at? How does it affect us? And is it something that is viable for us on the African continent to incorporate digital elements within our storytelling? What is African theatre in one word? Authenticity.
Beautiful, love that. Thanks a lot, Lesedi. And just to remind everybody, let us know where you are engaging with us from, whether you're on Facebook, just say which country you're in or which area of the UK you're in if you're in the UK. Dr. Gillian Evans, please go ahead and tell us about you.
Hello, hi everybody. My name is Gillian Evans. I'm a social anthropologist. That means I study what it means to be human, and I'm a specialist in the cultural politics of the UK. And I'm going to be in conversation with Shola Akingbola, who I think is going to speak now. We're going to take it in turns to speak during our minute.
Lovely. Thanks a lot. Shola, please go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Coming to you from Southeast London. My name is Shola Akingbola. I'm a composer, percussionist, performing artist. We're looking forward to engaging with you in conversation about music, sound, and theatre. This will be a live interactive discussion with opportunity for small group work online.
And what's African theatre to you in one word?
African theatre to me in one word, storytelling.
Fabulous. And Gillian, you wanted to say something there?
Yes, I was going to say that we're going to, Shola and I, in conversation, explore how humans create a sense of freedom for themselves and others through cultural expression, understanding that culture is not fixed or contained, but fluid, free to move and change.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And Zodwa Nyoni, please tell us about who you are, what you do, what you're going to do for us, and what African theatre is to you in one word.
Hi, everyone. I am a playwright, poet, and filmmaker, and I also lecture in performance and theatre. And I'm going to be showing a piece that I made called Home Has Died, and that's going to explore performance and ritual, but also the idea of kind of merging kind of storytelling practices in both kind of Africa and the West, and looking at kind of Zimbabwean rituals of kind of dance and singing and blessings, and exploring what does it mean for you being somebody born in the diaspora and trying to merge kind of both societies that you grew up in.
And African theatre in one word, please.
Culture.
Absolutely, thank you. And next up is the phenomenal Angelina Abel, who is Sheffield based. Talk to me, sis.
Hello, sis. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Angelina. I am originally from Angola, raised in Portugal, and I am the creative director for Monologues d'Africa, African fusion dance classes here in Sheffield. In one word, African theatre, I was going to say culture. It's a popular one, but I'll also choose roots. Sorry, 2 words there. For our sessions, Monologues will aim to focus on a ritualistic approach to movement, an approach of energy release and empowerment through simple choreography, allowing repetition whilst respectively exploring the influence of Bantu spiritual practices. We will aim to tap into our own vulnerability through movement in preparation for a physical representation and delivery with intention. And I hope you can join us. Thank you.
Sounds amazing. Thanks a lot, Angelina. And next up is one of Utopia Theatre's favorites. We've worked with him a bit. Ian De Fest, talk to us about you and what you'll be doing for us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anton, the first Mr. Culture. I'm a versatile artist, and I promote African cultural heritage across the globe. I will be coordinating workshops on 2 educational workshops, basically on talking drum and the African contemporary arts. African theater, to me, promotes our cultural heritage and tells our stories. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, appreciated. Next is Olusola Oyeleye.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Olusola Oyeleye. I'm a writer, director, producer, and an educator. African theatre means memory to me. I'm going to be doing an interactive talk with a Q&A, and we'll explore how to get away with directing, the director's anatomy. We'll explore leadership skills, communication, the different routes into direction. I'll talk a little bit about my journey as a writer who started directing. I direct opera, music theatre, and text-based theatre. So, and I've worked as in radio as well, and short films and television. So I'll be able to talk across media about my experiences of directing. And I'm happy to be here and share. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's beautiful. And Lee Athen, yeah, good old friend. Talk to us about what you're doing.
Hi, I'm Hannah from Sheffield. Thank you for having me. This is amazing. I'm a sound designer and composer, and I work with theatre, film, and dance. And I'll be delivering 3 workshops on how sound works for how we can record sound, and then how sound works for film, and how sound works for theatre. I'm very honoured to be asked to do that as well. It's such an amazing programme. And my word would be storytelling.
Fantastic, thank you. Matthew Hahn.
Good morning. My name is Matthew Hahn, and I am a theater director and a theater for development practitioner. I'll be running a forum theater workshop, which is interactive theater via Zoom. So taking what I've been doing for the last 20 years in person and trying to apply how we create forum theater on this new normal of this platform. We'll be looking at, forum theater looks at the lived experiences of all the participants. So trying to examine how communication might break down and how we might be able to make better choices around that communication. Africa theater means to me, the one word is vital.
Thanks a lot, Matthew. Juwon Ogungbe.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Juwon Ogungbe. I'm a composer, singer, and music director. African theatre means to me, in one word, pulsation. I'm contributing to the Creative Hub program, a music drama project which will last over 5 weekly sessions. The narrative is to be drawn from the corpus of the Yoruba Ifa oracle. Participants will be offered opportunities to create scenes, songs, instrumental music, and develop characters in the devising process that will lead to a performance which is to be presented to an audience in the last hour of the last session. It will be stimulating, fun, and a great way to develop skills. So I hope some of you will join me.
Well, I want to join that. Thanks a lot. Estella Daniels, please tell us about who you are, what you do, and in one word, what African theatre is, and as well as what you'll be contributing to the program.
Hello, everyone. My name is Estella Daniels. I am an actor and a teacher and a new mum of a little boy who's currently having a nap, so he might just join me. One word for me, African theatre means spirit. I will be doing 2 workshops, or 3 actually, but the 2 main workshops are going to be just taking you through my process as an actor, focusing the mind and preparing the body. Also, I'll just be detailing a little bit of how I got into acting. And the second workshop, we'll just be doing a little bit of character work and some script work.
Thank you very much, Estella. And Jennifer Farmer, the phenomenal.
Hello, everyone. It's just absolute pleasure to be here with you all today. My name is Jennifer Farmer. I'm a playwright and theatre maker and educator. And I write extensively for underrepresented narratives and communities. I will be delivering a Redrafting Your Play workshop. So once Oladipo has taken you through your paces and got you writing those first drafts, I will be helping to finesse it and getting it ready for submission or further development. African theatre, for me, in one word, is nourishing. And I just really want people to participate in the Creative Hub scheme, because I think to tell our stories is to take up space in the world and to help others see themselves.
Thanks a lot, Jennifer. Everybody, wherever you are in the world, the hashtag to use on social media platforms is hashtag UT Creative Hub. Please engage in the conversations. Next up is James Henshaw. Please unmute your microphone, James.
Right, can you hear me now? Hi, everybody. My name is James Henshaw. I'm a playwright, a former lecturer, and I'm also the executive secretary of the James Ine Henshaw Foundation. We work in Nigeria trying to develop a culture of theater going, and I work mostly with young people and try to provide a platform where they can display their skills. I'll be taking a session on Friday, the 11th of September, called Creating Our Own Voices. Okay, and this will be an interactive session, questions and answers, and I hope a platform where we can discuss quite intensively about our motivations for telling our stories, what stories we should be telling as African writers. I think as African writers, we have a responsibility You know, we can't just write for art's sake, you know. So we'll also be looking at the difficulties of and the obstacles in telling our own kind of stories in our own way, you know, and looking at other various kinds of platforms where we can, you know, as writers, performers, etc., you know, display our work. African theatre in one word, we are theatre ourselves. So that's my own definition of African theatre. So yes, I hope everyone will join us on that day, Friday, 11th September at 11 o'clock. You know, it's going to be interactive, and we hope that we can, you know, have a, you know, explosive discussion. Thank you.
Thanks so much, James. And Hazel Holder, please tell everybody about yourself and what you'll be doing with us and your one word.
Hello, everyone. Really pleased to be here. I'm a voice and dialect coach. I'm also a performer, and I'm going to be participating in a session with Sarah Niles in conversation. So maybe Sarah can also unmute, and we will be taking and empowering conversation of being a Black British woman within a very English system of theatre. Sarah, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, we just want to be talking about empowerment, how we can use ways to be, how we can subvert, because when we're people of colour, we're also activists, we're also artists, we're not just, you know, actors. So it's important to do that within the confines of the British theatre, how we can find our space and take up space.
Absolutely. So creating that, how we create kind of like equity and inclusion for ourselves within productions. We're also going to be running a session together of voice into acting. So I'm going to be running a vocal warm-up before that, which will be helping us as people to kind of, again, take up space vocally, about finding your voice, about growing your voice, nurturing that African, that Black diasporic voice. And then we will be running a workshop together after that on voice into acting, again, about claiming the spaces for ourselves.
Yeah. My one word for African theatre, I mean, I've got loads, but I'm going to pick one word. And it's really vital that we always remember, it's about the village. It's vital that we always remember that, because in the constructs of British theatre, sometimes it's about the individual, and it's important to think about the collective, the family.
And absolutely. And my word is empowerment. Empowerment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Maureen Salmon, please tell us a bit about yourself and what you're going to be doing for the project and your one word about African theatre. Then I'll have Karishma ready for that, please, for the next.
Thank you, Chinwe. Good morning. My name is Maureen Salmon, and I'd like to say congratulations to Utopia for launching the Creative Hub, a fantastic idea. I am, I'd say, a cultural leader, social entrepreneur. I'm an activist and an educator. And I am currently working with Utopia, helping to deliver the Elevate program. And what I'm going to be doing as part of the Creative Hub is to lead a session on leadership and strategic development. And what I'm going to be doing there is to not just talk about challenges for in terms of, you know, Black or African-led theatre or organisations, but talk about the opportunities that we have currently. And obviously the impact of COVID-19 on our communities, Black Lives Matter, are all opportunities for us to be shaping our future in a very different way. And, you know, a really important thing is I'm going to be looking at leadership and how you align it to your practice, whatever that is in terms of African theatre. I also want to explore how we lead in terms of influencing the sector locally as well as globally. And I would hope we'll get to the point where we can explore how you create a sustainable business model to have a sustainable future in the arts and cultural sector. And that really is important. We need to be moving beyond being led to leading our own futures. And a big part of that is how we create social and economic wealth for our communities. So that's why I think leadership is absolutely fundamental. I will also share my experience coming from African people's dance and some of the writings that I've started to do of reflecting back. For those of you who are familiar with dance will probably have heard of Ajido and Bodejo Arts, some of the companies that I have been involved in. And the question we ask is why those organizations are no longer in existence. And so what I want to see is when we look in the next 20 years from now, Utopia will still exist in some shape or form. And so for African theatre, it's about our stories. And we need to be telling our stories. And that is the most fundamental aspect of how we sustain our futures. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Maureen. That's amazing. Karishma Bagani, I believe you're in Kenya.
Yes. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see you all and be with you virtually. My name is Karishma Bagani. I'm calling in from Mombasa, Kenya. I'd like to say congratulations to the Utopia Theatre team for planning this wonderful series. And it's my absolute honor to be a part of it. I'm a producer, director, dramaturg, an emerging scholar, and I will be participating with Lesedi in conversation with her about the evolution of African theatre and storytelling over the last few years. My one word to describe African theatre is Ubuntu.
Thank you. I love that word. Yeah, Ubuntu. Thank you. Emma Williams, please.
Just unmuting. Hi. Hello, my name's Emma Williams. I'm a setting costume designer, and I've had several words for African theatre. I can't put it into one word. So I decided to go with duality, because for me, it's that combination between the spiritual and the actual world, and those two things interconnecting. So I'm sorry I can't do it just in one. And what I'll be doing is I'll be offering in my workshop an understanding of the practical process of how you actually put a show on with the creative team. So I'll just take you through that process for myself, and then how I use research and kind of cultural immersion to come up with the design. For me, it's really important to find different ways to tell the story that feel authentic, really, to make the performers feel as confident as possible, and so that they can shine, and really the fluidity of a performance and just helping everything to flow and feel natural. So that's what I'm going to be exploring. That's it.
Thanks a lot, Emma. That's amazing. Daryl, please could you tell us about yourself, what you'll be doing, and your one word, please.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Fantastic. Hi, my name is Debo Oluwatuminu. It's wonderful to see so many old faces. Well, when I mean old, I mean people that we've worked together and good friends. It's good to see you all. I'm a writer, director, filmmaker, and teacher. My interest is for this particular platform would be working with people who probably have petrified of actually putting pen to paper. I'm going to be dealing with people who are starting off, want to write their first plays probably. So we'll be walking them through writing short scripts. And I was thinking of using storytelling from Africa and adapting those specifically for theatre using this particular platform online. So the objective will be to take people through the time that we have together to produce a 5 to 10 minute script that can be shared with everybody else. My one word would be dream weaving. So that's what I would, yeah.
There you've gone, dream weaving. That's a new one, new entry, everybody. And next up is Councillor Carlton Rivers and John Rothomak. Get ready after Carlton.
Wow, I've waited for this day. Thank you very much. It's really amazing to see everyone here. My support for Utopian Theatre is just immense. They've given us something that we never had in Sheffield, and for that I'm so grateful. I'll start with one word in describing Africa, what the theatre means and what African theatre means. To me, I felt like a lost child when I put together a project in Sheffield, gathering people who were isolated. So migration makes you lose your culture. It makes you a lot unless we have some things like this. So I would say finding each other is how I would describe African theatre. What I will contribute is to support the Utopian Theatre, specifically in terms of direction, support from my experiences. My background, my title you just said is Councillor Rivers, but my background is social anthropology. And I have put together a project called Durban Interweaving Cultural Crafts, where we brought British basket weavers and immigrant women together to actually share arts and knowledge. And that kind of cut so many isolation. And that is what I'll be sharing across.
Thanks a lot, Carlton. My favorite African councillor in Sheffield, because she's the only one. So, John Rothomak, please.
Hey, Chiwe. Thank you for having me. Utopia Theatre. This is amazing. So my name is John Rothomak. I am from Uganda, Sheffield. And my contribution to this is I'm going to be having a conversation with Sile Sibanda, who is an amazing human being. She works at the BBC. But the conversation will look at, we'll touch a little bit about my experience in drama school as Black African male. And then from there, we'll go into how I sort of went from being an actor to being a director to being a writer. So what that journey is and how and why I started doing my own work. African theater to me is, woo! Yeah.
Thanks a lot, John. I think you've said a lot in that one. Yeah. We're going to further even more African royalty now. Dr. Kene Igweono, please tell us about yourself, what you do, and how you'll be contributing to the Creative Hub.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kene Igweono. I'm the president of the African Theatre Association. And I'm also, in my day job, I work at Middlesex University as Deputy Dean for Research and Knowledge Exchange. My contribution here mainly is going to focus around a discussion I'm going to be having with Oladipo Abolaje on the 3rd of August. But I guess the thing to say about that conversation is that we're going to be looking primarily at Dikpo's work, particularly how he centers the African theatre, African diaspora narrative within the UK society. So we're going to be looking at that particular context. In terms of what African theatre is, I think it's such a very difficult concept to define. And the reason why it's difficult is because actually, I guess you've got to start from what is Africa. And defining Africa, it is self-complex. And kind of my way of thinking about those concepts of African theatre or Africa as itself is that they are borrowed concepts. And because of the borrowed nature of those concepts, we need to own it first in order to be able to define it. So I think what African theatre is complex. Sometimes I say to people, it is what you say it is, but that's also difficult. So my way of defining African theatre is to say, well, African theatre is simply theatre, period, full stop. How do you define theater in other cultures? I mean, if you look at the dictionary definition of theater, it just tells you it's performances, and it's an embodied kind of performance that uses the voice and the body and maybe objects. So, and that fits African theater, it fits any other theater. So I would say, having thought about, we can talk about community and all that, but just because of what I've just said, I think I would choose my one word would be society, because African theater has to be theater that engages with Africa, and it's about Africa. So I would say society is the word.
Thank you very
Irrespective
much.
of who writes it, of course, whether the person is white or black or in between.
Lovely, that's just powerful. And just to remind you, we'll be taking a break once we're done with all the creatives introducing themselves, and then we're going to get deeper into the discussion of what African theatre is, and you'll all be invited to participate in that. Next up on the lineup of creatives to introduce themselves is somebody who has made Idris Elba look like he doesn't shine a light to any good-looking people out there. Madeleine Appiah, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm so grateful to be part of this. Watching all the people that have spoken before has been truly inspiring. So thank you for allowing me to be part of this. My name is Madeleine and I'm an actress. And since lockdown, I have discovered I'm a teacher too. So that's been amazing. In my sessions, I would like to explore monologues. What monologues are, how we break them down, how we perform them, how we find truth in our monologues, and how you can unlock your talent to convey speeches. And in auditions, a lot of the time you're asked to prepare stuff, so it's a good process in terms of looking at scripts and things like that. So we'll be looking over monologues over 5 weeks, and the first sort of session will just delve into looking at how to break down a monologue, and then I'll be encouraging participants to perform their own monologues and dissect those as they do, with the aim to make a performance on the 4th with a panel of actors to give feedback, and then on the 5th week a live streaming of their monologues being viewed by lots of industry professionals. So that's a great platform for that. And African theatre, to me, I guess it's hard to choose one, but the one that is in my mind is Origin. And I say Origin because that's where my storytelling began, in my home with my mum performing the stories of old. So Origin and African theatre is where it starts.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much. So I've only got 2 more people to bring to the fore. Can I just check amongst the creatives that I've covered everyone except Kehinde and Francesca? If there's somebody I've missed out, please just text me in the chat. That will really be lovely. So Francesca, could you please introduce yourself to the group, to the audience?
Hello, hi, I'm Francesca, and I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you to Moji and Utopia Theatre for hosting this incredible series. I'm super excited. I'm an emerging actor, composer, and recent music graduate from Oxford University. And I'm really excited to be hosting an In Conversation session with musical director, composer, musical extraordinaire, Michael Henry. And we'll be talking about the process of making music for theatre, especially focusing on bringing African music and African sounds and voices to life on stage. We'll be looking at Mike's work on Barbershop Chronicles, Three Sisters, Our Lady of Cabello, and we'll also be looking at ways for young musicians and composers to begin the process of exploring our stories and narratives for stage. So yeah, it's going to be a great chat, and I hope you can all join us. For me, African theatre is about celebration.
Oh, fantastic. Oh my goodness. I can't wait for this discussion about African theatre to take place. And lastly, amongst the creatives today, let me introduce to you an African goddess, Kehinde Bankole. Kehinde, do we have you?
Yes, hi.
Hello.
Hello. So I am Kehinde Bankole. I'm an actress. I am a businesswoman. I am an entrepreneur, and I'm an enthusiast for the African theatre. What I'll be bringing to this program is teaching and equipping African actors, young African actors, how to monetize their skills, how to, equip themselves to better the social and economic, especially economic situation of Africa. Because if we're to come out of this, we need to strategize on ways to enrich ourselves beyond the talent. Let's look into the business of the show, not just the show of it. I will also be talking about the skill of acting, decisions in acting, making choices when you're acting, all the types of acting that we have, would explore them, look at them. And then we'll also talk about finding the balance between theater and acting for television, because in my region here, there's a lot of, there's more work in television and film. So even if you're a theater practitioner, how can you find the balance to understand how to use your skill effectively and efficiently on both ends? Now, for me, African theater means depth.
Wow. Ooh, you're getting intense. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so very much. I've also just realized that Dr. Anton Kruger, is it Professor Anton Kruger, has now joined us. So Professor Anton Kruger, the rest of the creators have been telling us who they are, what they do, and in one word, what African theatre means to them, and also what they'll be contributing to the Creative Hub program. Please take the floor.
Hi there. Yeah, sorry I'm so late. I've been involved here. I'm in South Africa, in Makanda. I'm a university drama department. We're running the virtual National Arts Festival this year. The small town of Makanda is where we have the National Arts Festival every year. And this is the year this is the time of year that it's supposed to be happening, and it's really exciting. It's just this amazing event, but of course everything went dark this year, so they put it online. So I was involved in an online show which ran like up to now, using Zoom and playing with it with some backdrops, and it was quite fun. Yeah, anyway, it's ongoing. We run until Sunday. The festival ends on Sunday. There's heaps of free stuff to look at as well. All the live events are free. So if you look for Virtual National Arts Festival South Africa, you can see a whole lot of really great stuff from all over the continent and internationally as well that's available. And for those of you in the UK, I mean, it's so cheap. Anyway, the day pass would cost you like £3 or something to watch everything you want to on one day. It's ridiculous compared to the Rand. But okay, so I'm a little bit just coming out of that energy, and it's fantastic to see everybody, and I'm really excited to be also part of this program. I teach creative writing, playwriting, so I'm going to be running 2 workshops and mostly focusing on I suppose what it's not too technical, but really trying to get to the heart of what our or my interest in theatre is about human beings and characters. So we're starting with focusing on characters and people. What makes, how do we find characters? How do we build them? How do we see them from outside and also from inside? And then starting from there as a starting point, how they relate and interact with other characters. I'm also very much into collaborative writing. I enjoy writing together with other people, and I think it's often a theatre experience we have of working with people together in a shared space. So we're going to have some collaboration between pairing up of people to write a scene for the next workshop. So we'll have two Saturday mornings, and so that will be the approach. The first one, creating a character, and then the characters will meet each other, and then they'll collaboratively write a scene together. African theatre, what African theatre means to me.
In one word.
Well, sorry?
One word.
One word, sorry, I'm going to, one word. I can't find one word. Heart. I'll say heart.
Ooh, okay. That's a very nice place to sort of wind down on. So what's going to be happening next is you're going to be tweeting all about the Utopia Theatre Creative Hub, and you're going to be inviting people to join the conversation on Facebook and any other platforms. In the meantime, we're going to be taking a 5-minute break, during which Patrice is going to be playing us some of his flutes. So Patrice, if you're ready, we are ready for that amazing flute of yours. Can you see me? Patrice, can you hear me? Oh, do we still have you?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was just unmuting myself.
Lovely, brilliant. Please take it away.
What makes you think I can play this?
I know, right? Yeah.
What is this? Anyway, this is a Bansuri flute. It's from the Indian heritage. It's bamboo, and I began to learn how to play it because it was an easy, adaptable instrument that would take me into so many narratives. So I do that with a number of instruments, teaching myself, and then providing a catalyst to go behind the instrument and see what else I can learn, who else I can engage with. So I'm going to play a little bit, but because I wasn't taught by a Bansuri person, I had to translate African flutes from different parts of the melodies of African flutes and sensibilities and aesthetics from different parts of the continent onto this. And that's quite a key thing in the diaspora, because sometimes you don't have access to, to learn, to train. So I've translated that sensibility onto this instrument. So that's a kind of a diaspora creolization thing. Is it too loud? Is it okay? Okay. There you go. 5 minutes. And of course, just a little bit. I find it difficult to play these things without talking to community or the village. For the African performing artist, what these type of instruments do is they deepen and fleshing out your imagination. There's also physical things that you learn from attempting to play. I'll deal with that later in the 5 minutes that I have. But the other thing is the apprenticeship and the transmission quality between whoever is teaching you, the reciprocity. So you are learning with someone, from someone in a collaborative situation. Also, the environment within which you learn back home is quite important because usually there'll be chickens, goats, bah, bah, there'll be all these sounds around you, which form the spiritual, ritual, community environment within which you are learning something. So you're not just learning this, you're also taking in everything that this comes from. So that's it. Do I have to play more?
Yes, yeah, I had you down to play about 2 more. Whilst we take a break. Yeah, please. Yeah.
No, I'm giving you.
I mean, that was beautiful, Patrice. That was beautiful. You should really be proud. I mean,
well,
I know you perform.
I can give you 2 more minutes. Okay,
Good.
so with that same idea, how can you, without funding, without workshop or whatever, begin to practice elements of African performance, African ritual? I can do it through this. The drum is very big and heavy, and it sometimes upsets people's sensibilities in the West. So you cannot always play this drum because people go, "Oh my God, what's going on?" But these are easy. So this is another very interesting creolization manifestation in the diaspora. It is a bamboo. Well, the guy calls it a bamboo sax, and it is bamboo, and it has a reed and a tenor clasp, and it's not warmed up, so I hope it will play for you. So this is an example of creolization, really. It's come from different influences, and it's so interesting. It's come back to this just piece of bamboo. And for the African performing artists, you really want to be able to create, collaborate from the space, from just a space, and then you can build from there. You know, so I can just invite a drummer, invite this, that, and then we have something to carry our stories. You see, so that's how I started to learn. This is my private training environment. If there's nobody around, if I've got no drummers, no performers, how can I create? How can I make? Literally from no money, how can I begin to tell a story and get the story out to the community, to the village? So these are some of the resources that I found in the diaspora. Of course, you really want to learn, you go home, or you find somebody who is from the land.
Oh, thanks so much for imparting all that knowledge to us. Before we actually go into the discussion, the open discussion, where all the attendees, including the panelists, are going to be involved on what African theatre is, let me just go back to my boss, the boss lady, Moji. Moji, do you have anything to say to the creatives at this point for the last session?
Oh God, I didn't realize I was not on mute. Oh God, sorry. I've probably been distracting everybody with Hi, no. Well, just to say thank you all, everyone, for joining the program and really looking forward to it. I'm attending every single workshop and every single session. So you can imagine my next 6 months diary is all fully booked up, and I'm really looking forward to engaging with all of you. I can't thank you enough because like they say, it takes all of us. It's going to take all of us to be able to get an impact in this industry. And it takes every single one of you coming on board to make the impact that we need to make with the Creative Hub. It takes every single one of you coming on board to be able to impart that knowledge. And all of you are all very, very experienced people. Some of you I love to learn from, and some of you I'm really looking forward to learning more. You don't know everything. No matter what you are, no matter what you do, you can always learn from your peers. You can learn from people who've been in the industry longer than you. And I'm not proud not to learn. I'm always ready to learn. So yeah, so thank you all so much. I mean, I don't know, thank you is not enough. Yeah.
Oh, you're wonderful, Moji. You're wonderful. Look at your vision. It's really unraveling well. So I have been asked in the comments to get Patrice, if you could type all the instruments you've mentioned in the comments. People would like to know what they are. And then a very special appearance now. Dr. Igueono is going to be showing us some instrument in a moment. He says he would like to just tally with what Patrice has shown us. So Dr. Igueono, please take to the floor.
Yeah, thanks for that. I was just going to show quickly because Patrice, you played beautifully on those the bamboo sax, and I wanted to show you one of the originals from Nigeria. So this is a flute. It's called Oja in Igbo language, and it's got the main mouthpiece, and it's got 3 openings on either side and 1 at the bottom. I'm not going to perform, but just to show you what it sounds like, because it's called the Oja. It's a flute in Igbo tribe from Nigeria. Yeah, so I just wanted to show you that and what it sounds like.
Just how beautiful. Thank you so much. That was, yeah, totally unexpected. See how things work in the creative world. I'm learning really fast. That was really beautiful. Thanks to everybody. So we are going to be getting into the lively discussion. So if everybody can bring up their videos, but mute their microphones, and then we'll bring you on to the discussion. And so the discussion is, what is African theatre? And it's open. Use the facilities. So if you put your hand up in the chat function, I'll try and get to you. If you put your questions in the Q&A as well. And if you want to ask any of the creatives a specific question around what African theatre is based on the answers they gave earlier on, please write who you want me to ask, and then I'll pass that along. So let's get this started. Let's go, people. Do I have a question in there? Let's have a look. Okay, I'm going to start. I'm going to go with yeah, I think I'll go back to Dr. Kene because you provoked a little bit of this kind of thought in me when you said, actually, it's just theater and it's not, you'd rather it was called theater. Can you explain a bit more around that?
Yeah, I mean, as you would imagine, I get into a lot of debates about what is African theatre, being the president of the African Theatre Association. But in 2009, the African Theatre Association actually had a conference with the theme, what is African theatre? So we had the annual conference was just looking at that concept and trying to unpick it. Quite a lot have been written about it, and I've written a bit myself. And often we essentialize African theater. Kind of say African theater is about this, about that. And all those things are right about what African theater is. It's about storytelling, it's about community, it's about ensemble, it's about all those things we talk about, all those beautiful things we talk about. People talk about it being polyrhythmic in terms of the rhythm. It's about all those things, but actually, I think when we do that, often it sounds like if you don't know, it sounds like you're saying other theaters, British theater, whatever other theater, American theater, is not about those things. But we know that you find elements of those things in every world theater. And that's why I think really what makes African theater is not so much about those individual elements. Yeah, you can talk about the form of the theater, the content of the theater as what constitutes, what makes it unique to the locale. But actually, I think much more important than that, what makes that culture is, what makes things the way it is the culture of that place, is the society people live in. We know our society is evolving, it's not static. And the mere fact that our society in Africa is evolving and adopting different things from different places does not make them less African. So, and that's why I think it's really about the society that you situate the work in. If the work is about Africa or in Africa or of Africa, then it's African theater. And I could be a bit more controversial and say that African theater could be propagated, could be written, and could be performed by even those who are not Africans. So that's me being a bit controversial there in case
I'm already seeing questions coming on the back of that. So before I go to another question, Councillor Carlton Rivers, you had something to contribute to this conversation.
Thank you. When we think about African theater, most people just think it's just music and, you know, and other things, but there's quite a lot of our stories that have been wiped out through colonialism that African theater contributes to, at least reminding the many, many generations who do not know why and how all that culture and tradition, but also the life. When somebody said anthropology is learning about humans, I think one of the creatives said that. Anthropology was used to gather and colonize Africa, and so to actually use it in theater is also another amazing thing to do. The African theater, for me as a child who came to this country very young, it reminds me of all the stories that my grandmothers and mothers told me of all the animals. It wasn't just about animals, it was about the kingdom of Africa, where as a young child, when you're in Africa, you take that for granted, you're home, people are telling you about you. But when you come to the diaspora, the African theater has a contribution for our young generations. And I think it's something that we need to create and find what we've lost through colonialism as well, and through migration. And I think for me, when I said finding each other, it's something that my children's children's children will have to know what Africa means to begin with, and what the creative way of telling our stories, our forefathers' stories, not just the land that have been divided by colonialists, but the cultures that have been wiped out or tried to be wiped out. So I think using that creativity to kind of give something back to our young people is also an amazing thing. And for me, it means that I'm every day I'm finding that everybody thinks Africa is just a small place. I'm from Somalia. I've never been to anywhere else in Africa, but I came to the West, and that is why we need the African theater. Because Kenya is right next door, I've never been. Ethiopia is right next door, I've never been. But because of civil war, I ended up in another country where I'm now a politician and trying to grab all the African culture that I can. So thank you for giving me this.
Thanks for that insightful political perspective, Kaltum. I'm going to go to Anita in a moment, Dr. Anita Franklin, but there's a question for you, Moji and Dr. Kene. It says, how does African adapt and be or remain, I believe this is, how does African theatre adapt and be or remain authentic in foreign spaces? What are the components? So Moji, would you like to take that on first? Dr. Kene, I think we've lost Moji for a bit.
Yeah,
Would you like?
Yeah,
we've got you.
Yeah, got me. How do we adapt? For me, African theatre is in my spirit, is in my heart, is in my being. I don't have to adapt to anything. I breathe it, I sleep it, I eat it. So when I'm in the space with a piece of work, every single part of who I am as an African woman engages with that work, engages with that piece of writing. So I'm looking at it straight away with those eyes. So I don't need to do anything. It kind of, it flows from me like the blood that flows through my body. And it flows into every aspect of what I see. So it flows into the aspect of the set design. If a set designer is speaking to me, I'm speaking to them from somebody who knows I've touched the soil of Africa. I've lived in the soil of Africa. I've drunk the water of Africa. I grew up with my grandmother. So I know every single aspect of what it is to be an African person. And it feeds into every single thing that I do. And that is why I say to directors, all you can do is be you. You can't be anybody else. I can't be somebody who's born and brought up in Sheffield. I can't make the type of work that they make. And maybe I don't want to make the type of work that they make. I want to make work that connects to me. I want to make work that feeds into who I am as a human being and what I believe in. I hope that answers your question.
Yep. Thank you very much, Moji. I wish we had seen your face, but thank you. Dr. Igweoni, did you have anything to add to that? Because that question was directed at both of you.
Yeah, I think the first thing I'll say about that question is a really good question and one that's always coming up again and again. I think the first thing to say there is that authenticity is overrated. The notion of something being authentic is problematic, so to speak. Just like what Moji is saying, I think Africa is about worldview. Your worldview informs how you relate to things and people around you. So you could even be born in Sheffield, you could be born anywhere in New York, you could be born in Nigeria. It's the worldview that shapes how you interact, and it's that what shapes how you make creative work as well. And that worldview is what makes the work African itself. Somebody may be born in Nigeria, but actually their worldview is informed by Hollywood. And in that context, I mean, when they speak, you see that this person doesn't match the environment they live in. Some people are born in the West. Some of you may have heard about Susan Wenger, an Austrian who lived and died in Nigeria, in Oshun. Actually, I think she became the priestess of Oshun before she died. She is very much Yoruba. In fact, perhaps more Yoruba than some people that are born in Yoruba land. So I think it's about the worldview. Your worldview should shape. And if you don't know enough about the African worldview because you are born in the West and your parents haven't introduced you to that, then you can develop it, you can learn it. It's not something that is kind of static and fossilized. It's something that can be, you can educate yourself about the worldview and adopt that worldview. And that makes your work African because you create from that particular worldview.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anita, you were going to be coming in next. Would you like to say something around the subject?
Well, I think the thing that I would like to say is it's absolutely amazing, this idea that African theater can be, as it were, wherever you are, wherever the African spirit is. But it is necessary
for you to find like-minded people so that you can create that community, because it is very difficult for us as individuals to sustain and grow without the community support. And of course, that brings us back to questions about, well, what is theater and what makes African theater perhaps a little bit distinctive, more distinctive from theater in general or Western theater. And that certainly, it does seem to me that at least in the past, during decades of, you know, independence and this sort of thing, that communal spirit was really important, you know. And one of the things to be thinking about is the way in which living in the West can make us quite individualistic. I mean, you know, again, I'm not anti-individualism, but I'm just saying that in terms of nurturing the African spirit, that there's a social and communal aspect of that, which is very necessary. And that's part of the reason why I was talking about, for me, that the word I gave was survival. And I know that it's not a terribly celebratory or pretty word, but it's just that given that we are people who have been under enormous stress and often have our lives actually at risk just for being, theater is the thing that has held us together and has allowed us to reproduce ourselves and reproduce our culture and reproduce our ambitions and to tell our stories. And it seems to me that you know, when you're in the most stressed out kind of situations, whether it's stuff around colonialism and colonial control over your land, or whether it's stuff about slavery or what have you, that being able to come together and to create storytelling which is unifying, which is moral, and which is hopeful, is the thing that has actually sustained many of us over the centuries.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Anita. I'm going to direct the next question. Dear audience participants, wherever you are, please leave us some questions or just contributions. I see you, Nigeria. I see you, Zimbabwe. Thanks a lot. The next question is going to be directed to Dr. Oladipo. It says, what stories or types of stories do you feel run most powerfully or consistently through African theatre?
I think there's a multiplicity of stories. There aren't just, I wouldn't say that there's any particular strain of story that runs through. I also feel that it also depends, given what time periods, there would have been certain concerns that writers had. For instance, pre-colonial, a lot of the African contemporary dramas, particularly those written in a sort of a Western style, were anti-colonial in their outlook. And after colonialism, most of those, the dramatists began to look inwards at the concerns of the politics of the nation. So I'd say that I wouldn't be able to pinpoint one or two particular issues around African theatre. And it points to what I said about African theatre being about life in general. Most of the stories that we tell are stories that every society, every theatrical tradition tells in one shape or form. The reason why we have these terms like African theatre and other kinds and types of theatre, I believe are mostly are basically academic. Writers, depending on their individual temperament and on their worldview, will always write from that. So even if you see certain strains of topics, you see them leaning on certain concerns which mean most to them as individuals. So I wouldn't say that. I would assume, particularly in a lot of the stories you get from the continent itself, deal with the concerns of their societies. So yeah, so I wouldn't, and I feel that a lot of them now are moving away from even big political issues like corruption and the idea of the nation towards more mundane, ordinary, everyday issues such as marriage, love, and all those other concerns. But the social backdrop, of course, is their communities.
Brilliant, really awesome. Thank you so much for that. Just to remind everybody, it's utopiatheatre.co.uk, the creative hub. If you want to sign up to the program, on any of the program, they are free, and we are funded by the Arts Council in getting this going. The next person I'll bring on is Debo. You've got a contribution to make to the conversation around what African theatre is.
Yes, I am very interested in the tension. First of all, I think it's great that we have this forum where we got the village, if you like, all contributing towards the pot, because there are different strands, like Dip was saying, and like Kene was saying earlier, that contribute towards the speak. There's this tension that Kene talked about between what Moji was talking about and what Kene is espousing, this notion that African theatre can be created by anyone or anywhere. And what Moji was saying about her growing up in that particular context with her grandmother, soaking up the soil, the air, the very essence of Africa in a particular context. Now, I think the truth is in the middle there somewhere. For somebody who has not had any sort of, I grew up with stories. I grew up with songs and storytelling and all, and that, becomes an essential part of you. You don't even realize how deep and how intrinsic that becomes until you actually start to tell your own stories, or when you're teaching your children or what have you. It becomes a fundamental aspect of who you are. I take Kenneth's point that if you can be in that environment and be completely immune to that influence. But I think ultimately, to my mind, at least in my experience, if you have not been in the environment, or if the environment is not created, which is part of the reason why I'm celebrating the Creative Hub in this context, if the environment isn't created, if the collaborative practices or the collaborative groups or communities are not created, where a sense of that, where the music, the sounds, the smells, the very essence of what we want to define, particularly if we're going to be recreating and weaving the stories, because we're changing. Our world is changing. Globalization is eroding a lot of what we would say is, in quote, authentic Africa, with part of what Keda was having a problem with. But there are certain things that relate to the spirit of Africa that we want to continue, that we want to sustain, even if we're going to change, even if it's going to evolve. If we don't create those communities come together to do that, then that's going to be lost in the next 20, 30 years. That will just disappear. So I like the tension between what Kenneth's saying, between what Moji is saying, and I think we need to meet somewhere in the middle. That's what I'd like to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Franklin, you've got Dr. Nadia Anwar, who wants to come back to your contribution to this conversation. So they say, Franklin's point of view is appreciable, but as an outsider, non-African, I have always found that African theatre endorses and accepts the diversity that inhabits outside its specific and immediate cultural domains. Don't you think that too much focus on African communal perspective undermines that diversity? Do you want to come back on that, Anita?
Yes, I mean, I think that, I don't have a problem with what they're saying. I'm not here to kind of get into a kind of binary either or kind of way of talking, because I think that again is one of the kind of problems, is that sometimes talking in either or kinds of ways means that we're flattening out everything. That wasn't my intention. My intention was to talk about the way in which when we try and just hold on to things as an individual and we don't have a community to support our point of view, to support us in terms of our values, then it's very easy for individuals to feel themselves and their points of view as devalued. So what I'm talking about is the kind of just the importance of having, for instance, like this village. I don't have any other kind of network that is as strongly sustaining of what it is that I want to do, except Utopia. You know what I mean? Or another African, African theater kind of environment. In other words, that's what you do. You have to have people to help you, because otherwise, if you are simply stuck on your own and you're trying to give value to a particular point of view, for example, you will simply feel all of the kind of discrimination. You'll feel all of the kind of lack of self-esteem. It's very difficult to simply be by yourself throughout your entire life. So this is the thing. It's kind of like, in order to have it inside of yourself, you do have to be surrounded by it. And in order to feel comfortable being surrounded by it, then you have to have it inside of yourself. These things are mutual. They are mutually sustaining.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anita. Patrice, I noticed you're clapping really hard over there. Did you want to come in?
Sorry, I was unmuted. Yes, absolutely. By the way, guys, it's great to see so many comrades out there, and new people as well. I don't know, Auntie Anita. Is it okay if I call you Auntie Anita?
If you like.
So I just wanted to quickly drop in with the whole, what is African theater? Personally, I don't even use that word, because 54 countries with all the diasporic manifestations that have come out from those countries, we are beyond theater, man. Theater was a word that was brought to that continent anyway, There were things going on before. And so the range of performatory offerings from the continent and from our people over the centuries, one of it is theater. One potentiality of expression. But the idea of the village community being part of is so important. I so love the way how you said that. Now, there's maybe 3 or 4 things that we could look at that make African performance or African theater African. And that is call and response, the idea of reciprocity, ancestral memory, very key, because I notice in the West, memory doesn't seem to have a high value. So as a storyteller, or a community, you kind of need memory. The idea of a story or storyteller without memory is nonsensical. What do you build on? How do you learn? And you can start from your parents, your grandparents, to the silences that may be there. Then you have the whole improvisatory, spontaneous element that flows between call and response, that makes us, somebody's mentioned Ubuntu earlier, a person is a person through persons. And this kind of absence in the diaspora might account for some of the unease that we have when we are isolated. So for instance, I understand from medical people that Africans, African Caribbeans, and other migrants are something like 70% more likely, a greater chance of being diagnosed with schizophrenia. So you see my point? So I think you can straight away see that the idea of call and response, in Sierra Leone, we say, play for me, make a dance for you. So you wouldn't just sit in your house and just drum by yourself. It's a weird thing, to just sit by yourself, and just you need to be in a reciprocal relationship. It's a fundamental aesthetic. So then we have aesthetics. What are the aesthetics? The curvilinear is one. Then you have aesthesis, because aesthetics, you know, the frame of what is beautiful, and so it comes from Greeks. Aesthesis relates to the perceived, you know, what you perceive, how you perceive, sense perception, sense impression, the process of perceiving. What is that? You know?
Right.
And our various communities and cultures right throughout the continent and in the Caribbean and wherever we've been, we have some, you will hear people go, oh, it's very complex, but there are some commonalities.
Right.
Ritual is another thing, another element of African performance, African theater. And all of these things are about how we are going to live and how we want to live and how we're going to ameliorate what we're going through. So another area is art for life perspective.
Yeah.
We don't really put paintings on walls just to look at. We don't really sit down and listen to music without moving. We move because the movement is breath, and breath is life. Somebody said life is, you see what I'm saying? So these are some of the ingredients that go into, or could go into, African theater, African performance, African storytelling. Which of course can be in any amount. It can be installation, it can be dance and audio, it can be, there's so many manifestations, especially what we learn from other cultures and other ways of doing things. So,
brilliant, thank you. Thank you, Patrice. It's appreciated. Yeah, that's really appreciated. What a powerful contribution. I'm going to go to some people on the African continent. So I'm going to, Matthew, could you give us a perspective on how we can widen audience engagement with African theatre? Matthew, are you still with us?
I am, but I'm not on the African continent. So I was directed towards me. No, I'm not.
All right. Well, you could still answer that one. That's fine.
Could you well, I'll just add what I was talking about. I was thinking about with the idea of Africa theater. One thing that Patrice mentioned, and as a non-African, I wanted to support this idea of the audience. That to me is African theater. If you go, you know, I work in South Africa and Kenya and these places, and the audiences there versus the audience that I have when I'm working in the United Kingdom, the United States, wherever, is absolutely different. The whole call and response thing that Patrice said is absolutely that vitality between the actor, that common air between the actors and the audiences is much more vital in my experiences of African theater than anywhere in the North, for sure. And that to me is what makes African theater so enriching and so necessary, is this common air between actors and audiences.
Thank you. Thank you. Just to remind everyone that you can use the raise your hand facility. So I'm not seeing any hands coming up. I'm seeing the comments, but please could you raise your hands on the electronic system just in case I can't see your face. And yeah, Olusola, please come through.
I wanted to talk about the canon of work. I mean, we've talked about what African theatre can be, but I want us to talk about how we create the next canon of work. One of the things that we tend to do, and there's nothing wrong with it, but we reproduce productions of the Western classical canon of work. And it's quite important that we also, as part of that, begin to set up the agenda for the next generation and also help those writers to make work that maybe moves beyond 4 actors in a small space. The wonderful thing about some of the Western canon of work is that there's a chorus, there are multiple actors, multiple characters. And one of our responsibilities, I believe, is to also commission that work and make sure that this integrated voice, as people have said prior to me, about the diasporic experience is somehow catalogued, is noted, is woven into this generation and the future of what we are calling African theatre. Discuss.
Ooh. Shall I get Professor Kruger to come in there?
Sorry, I'm caught a bit off guard. What's the question?
Olusola, would you like to just bring that in again, please?
Wow. I was talking about creating an innovative canon of work that moves beyond the Western traditional canon that we have. We can be innovative with that work, and that's really important. But also, we need to train and allow space for creatives to make work that embraces the diasporic experience, which people have spoken about earlier, but also has the elements of what African theatre is, which is a total theatre experience of music and dance and text, but that we're not actually training or creating that new canon of work with writers who are able to do that. So I'm celebrating the canon that we have, but I'm also saying one of our responsibilities as creatives is to create the space for that new canon of work to take place, both in terms of the acting styles, the writers, and the directors who make it. Discuss.
Sure, okay. I feel like so I need to discuss now. Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with those. I mean, I suppose my situation is a bit different. I'm not in the diaspora, but as you can tell, I'm a white guy living in South Africa, or born in South Africa. So I'm also not. So I also have a different relationship to Africa and Africanness and Africanicity. I mean, our own theatre here in South Africa was very much premised on a struggle on anti-apartheid. That was the sort of main impetus, the revolutionary struggle theatre up to democracy. And I think for myself, in my own kind of research and studies, there are two streams. I think there is an importance to reclaim traditions and to also make sure that there are ongoing customs that are not diluted or watered down. I did some study on the Amanxhosa, the indigenous dance traditions that we've got a lot of here in the Eastern Cape, and to really, and I agree with what's been said before, also about the communal aspect, not having that separation of spectator and participant that we find so strongly, that one must be a performer or an audience member exclusively without some kind of symbiotic relationship between people. So there is an importance on tradition, but we're also living in this urban, industrial, multicultural world. So syncretism is definitely something which is inevitable, that none of us are really purely of one or other culture anymore. I don't think almost anywhere in the world, maybe North Korea, I don't know. But there's all these different influences that are informing us. So I think it's we don't need to be too prescriptive or exclusive and say, okay, that's not part of my tradition, I'm cutting it out. I mean, here we are from all over the world appearing in this virtual space, so we can allow many traditions to inform the work that we do. It's just, I think, probably important to be aware of or careful of what are the dominant strains, what is what is the strong voices coming through, and to make space and diversity and equality, that there can be a multiplicity of voices rather than just sort of one dominant authoritarian voice. So that's the challenge, I think, is to both keep the traditions alive. The indigenous traditions of the world in general, I think, are in danger, you know. And they go back many, many thousands of years, and it's really, really important for the human race that we maintain and keep things alive that are deeply rooted. But it's also important to be in the present moment, and to be here where we are now. Like now we're here on the internet, we're in the modern world, so we're also being informed by all of the activities and the philosophies and ideas of things, of the situation that we're in.
Thank you.
That's my discussion.
Thanks a lot. Jennifer Farmer, would you like to respond to that? Do we still have Jennifer Farmer?
Yes, sorry, I'm just trying to unmute. I think that it's such a difficult conversation because I think a lot of work, maybe what Alicia was discussing, was work that uses a Western or European framework when we are, say, doing retellings or adaptations of the Western canon. That, what does that say about our psyche is that if we're constantly using these frameworks in order to tell our narratives. And so I think for me, that's really a huge conversation to be pushed further. And it is a difficult one because what are the resources, if we're talking about particularly sort of happening in the British theatre landscape right now? But then is it about a reciprocity, as we've been bringing up that word, for how many works that are using, say, other classical canon pieces as a framework? Then do we commission new work to profit off of that so that we are creating another canon or expanding on the canon that's already there, actually? So I think for me, that is a huge conversation that I'm enjoying having with certain people, but I would really like to have on a wider stage.
Thank you, Jennifer. Kehinde and Sarah Niles, you've got a question from, I can't remember who, but she says, Kehinde and Sarah Niles, how do you think African theatre will be impacted by COVID-19, especially for actors? And how do you think the representation of African women on the stage has evolved? Oh, it's Joy from Old Africa that's asking that. Kehinde, would you like to go first?
COVID-19 and Africa. While the conversation was going on, the thoughts that were in my mind actually was that we who are here now as indigenous who are actually home, as seeing our tradition, this the source. I feel like we are with the source here. We are seeing the source as being troubled. All through the conversation, all I was saying was everyone was so enthusiastic about the source. Everyone is talking about the culture, the richness of it, how to preserve it abroad. But home here, the challenge we're even having is we don't value that culture as much as even the people out there value it. Why? Because it's plagued with problems. We see westernization, industrialization, civilization, urbanization as a chance to get out of poverty, as a chance to get out of problems. And we already are relating some of our cultural experiences that theater draws from. You know, we draw the story from our experiences, but some of the experiences are really not exciting for the people who live here. So the stories are coming out, but we're the ones experiencing it. We want development, we want infrastructural growth, we want an end to poverty, we want medical infrastructures available to us, we want a lot of things. And my thoughts is when these things do get given to us, we will lose most of even this culture that is being talked about, because the dirt roads then turn to tarred roads. There's a smell that comes from the earth in Africa here. There's even a peculiar smell the sand has. When the tarred roads come, when things change, even the culture, kids running in the grass, things change. So even the source itself is troubled. To answer the question of COVID-19 quickly and the impact on us, through all of this medical pandemic we've had and all the troubles going on around, we didn't even have infrastructure to say we were managing. There was nothing. There was really nothing. So it was an eye-opener for a lot of artists, actors, actresses, creatives, to go back, writers especially also, to go back to the drawing board and begin to write materials that will challenge things and begin to write materials that will question things and because we need to preserve that culture that the diaspora are all talking about. We need to keep it, but we're struggling. The culture is plagued with a lot of problems. So the impact it's had on me, and I think it's had on a few of my colleagues, is that we're beginning to rethink westernization in our space here, because we deem a lot of work that really doesn't have to do with our language, for instance. We deem it as a good source of funds, of money, making money. So if I have to learn an accent, if I have to travel abroad to work, I'm thinking economically all the time. So for us, the COVID-19 exposed all the financial and economical problems Africa needs to solve to even be able to preserve the culture in the first place. So without the culture being preserved, we don't even have anything to really, really work on. So that's how it's really impacted on most of us down here.
Thanks a lot, Kende. I'll go to Sarah Nels, and after that, Maureen Salmon. It's looking a lot like we're running out of time soon. So Sarah Nels and then Maureen Salmon, please.
Hi. Thinking about COVID-19, it seems like always we've had to adapt. We've had to adapt through so much things. I mean, I'm here in England and having to think about always having to adapt, whether you're being as an artist on stage, having to adapt with the stories and the constructs of British theatre, having to adapt with this situation, and knowing that the talk of it affecting most people of colour, the talk of people, a lot of English friends I have, having no experience of the COVID-19 in comparison to what I've experienced in my friends and family, and the kind of feeling of what this has brought about in terms of its inequality, and how it's kind of lifted a lid and we cannot go back to the way we were. Those are the kind of feelings that I'm wrestling with. And also I'm just kind of thinking of how we have to empower ourselves. Everything has to shift. And this idea that we've got so far to go. We've got so far to go in terms of the kind of visualization of Black women, the visualization of African women, the visualization of our stories. I spent most of my time and most of my experiences as an artist telling stories within the British framework, telling stories and trying to express myself, and trying to, as I've got older, unlearn all the things I learned from drama school, and the idea of this, you learn in this construct of British theatre, you learn how to be an English actress. That's what you learn, whether you know, or the best of within the confines of your color, that's what you learn to do. So it's about unlearning all that. It's about deconstructing all that. And plus for me, my family comes, I'm just talking free for, my family comes from the Caribbean. I'm not going to use the word West Indies. I'm going to say the Caribbean for many reasons. They come from the Caribbean. So for me, I've always talked about, I believe my grandmother is Africa. My mother is the Caribbean. And I'm always, it's like thread, I'm always trying to patchwork back the path that brought me, that's going to bring me home. So forever in my stories, that's where I always try to get back to. And so for this COVID-19, it's kind of put a stop, and it's kind of lifted a lid on what we need to do as people. We can't be separating and confining ourselves and boxing ourselves up. We have to be everything, and we have to empower ourselves. I don't know if I've answered the question, but that's my feelings at this precise moment in time, is what I'm trying to feel we need to do.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. Thank you very much. We'll get Maureen Salmon. After Maureen, shall we have Juwon and Zodwa to contribute to the conversation? So Maureen, please.
It's been fascinating hearing all the different perspectives on, African theatre. And I wanted to come in on the issue around the Western canon, and to say what we need is not, we need to contribute to that canon and to help that to innovate and to reflect the contemporary scenario and not kind of detach ourselves from it. So I think we need to be influencing that. And what we need, obviously, also are those opportunities where we can innovate and to lead our own canon and stories. I think in terms of the COVID-19, I did a paper which actually I will see if I can put the link in the chat box before we go, which was talking about it's not just the whole issue around health inequality, but it goes also to the heart of it. It's about educational and cultural inequality in society that has contributed to this. And, you know, we want to, as it fades and we're coming out of lockdown, we need to be moving into and maintaining the action going forward. We cannot wait for anybody else to determine what happens next. We're gonna have to lead that for ourselves. And in terms of, you know, theatre and Utopia in this platform, I like the concept, the idea of the village, that we are visual, it's a virtual village. We can see how very quickly we've moved from being local, national to being global. How many countries are participating? I see we've got 80 participants. It would be good to do a poll or, you know, some way of just tracking how many different countries are represented. And that is our strength. So I think, yes, you know, that's what I really wanted to emphasize, and that we don't lose the momentum and we make the best use of technology to our advantage. And absolutely, we need to be creating the economic wealth to sustain ourselves, not be looking to see where the grants are going to come from, because that's all kind of closing down. It's really, we're going to have to lead and let culture and education lead the way.
Thanks a lot, Maureen. Before I bring in Juwon and Zodwa, there's somebody in the audience called Kelvin Mary that's got their hand up. If you could unmute your microphone and just give us your question, please. Kelvin Mary?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, thanks.
Okay, hi. Hi, everyone. I'm really pleased to be here. My name is Kelvin Mary. I live and work in Lagos, Nigeria. I think over time, we've been too consumed by the economics, as I've heard over time here. However, I'd like to go back to how theatre survived in Lagos. I think to a large extent, it was about being honest in our telling. And being honest in our telling has been robbed of us, primarily because we keep focusing on the economics. We keep looking for what the audience would want to hear and not the message that we really want to serve the audience. And that has really, really affected our works. And I think, honestly, you cannot give what you do not have. Most of our tellings have come from what we have read and less from what we know, maybe from our parents, our grandparents, because largely we've thrived on oral traditions. And we know that documentation is a major problem in Africa and African storytelling. So how do we go back? I mean, I want to do a play today. I shy away from showing us Death and the King's Husband, and which has so much to tell me about how sacrificing for my culture is the same thing as Jesus dying on the cross for everyone, you know, and how it's easy to demonize the Death and the King's Husband character, and then praising Jesus as the savior of the world. I think honestly, getting too close to the Western telling and readapting them, in all honesty, harms our own perspective of the world. Because to be honest, our telling is very, very strange, and because they do not understand. I mean, the majority of them still think that Africa is a country, all right? But how do I tell that Shango lived here? How do I really tell that Shango lived here? You know, how do I tell that in modern time? And how do I use the technology available to me to tell that? And I think if we look at how to tell the African story again, in all honesty, using the available means here, I think we'll do very well. I think that they will now begin to look for how to tell our stories in their own way. You know, I mean, we've adapted. Growing up I mean, sometime in 2000, 2001, 2005, around that period, we had Tosin Andromeda come into Nigeria. She was in the UK. She's now based in Nigeria, but she came to do that adaptations of Merchants of Venice, Romeo and Juliet. She titled the Romeo and Juliet, Romario and Julieta, and all of that. We've had adaptations. We've had these things over and over again. All right, the Shakespeare Globe Theatre will do adaptations in different languages. However, how we then do it is do our own telling and let them find a way to learn and tell our stories. So then we go global.
Thanks so much. Thank you very much, Calvin. That was really helpful. I've seen people are clapping for you in the panel. I'm just going to go to Juan and Zodwa, and we'll get into that.
Okay, I think Chiwe is frozen, so we'll go to Juan.
Can you hear me, everyone?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, this conversation has been really interesting because it sort of has made me think not just about theatre as made by people of African descent, because I think that's or people or those heritages, but also about expression from people of African descent. I remember a major art exhibition that was put on at the South Bank Centre quite a few years ago now, probably a couple of decades, called Africa Remix. And the whole point of it was they were going to present African art in a sort of contemporary way. I remember going to that exhibition and feeling that there are particular things that, well, there are particular skills, approaches, modes of expression that Africans have used, like through traditions and customs through the centuries, that are part of who we are, that we can't sort of in a way throw out with the bathwater because we aim to be regarded as like, well, we're looking for something like being contemporary. And I think sometimes that we, there's a whole thing about being kind of expedient in choices we make. You know, we want to sustain careers as artists, those of us living in diaspora communities, and we find ourselves in positions where the big sort of producing houses ask us to do things that are in a sense about providing a bit of a flavor of African aesthetic, as opposed to dealing with, well, shooting from the hip, or, you know, really hitting the spot in terms of a particular African sort of perspective, whatever that might be. And I don't want to generalize and say there's not just one African perspective, obviously. So this idea of like the remaking of the Western canon and being told in an African way is something that's expedient for those major producing houses that need to appear to be employing X number of people of, in inverted commas, people of African descent or people of color. And so it looks all right from their point of view that they've done that kind of work. Whereas I think outside of that, we need to maybe ask ourselves, what is our expression for? I think I'd like to leave it there. What is our expression for?
You. Thank you very much, Joanne. I'm really sorry. I have a storm in my background, so I got lost a bit there. Did Zodwa come on?
No, Zodwa is looking at.
Hi.
Hi, Zodwa.
For me, it's interesting because like I feel like it's been part of like a process of understanding self and how I then want to communicate. And I was born in Zimbabwe, but then kind of grew up in Leeds. So everything that I know about theatre and storytelling basically took place in England. And it was interesting kind of growing up here and making work here. And then they're like, oh, you're a Zimbabwean writer. And then going to Zimbabwe, they're like, yeah, you're not a Zimbabwean writer, like at all. And then having to think about like the idea of like, what is the subject matter that I was writing about, but also like the process. And then going, I remember going to see some work in South Africa and then getting into like township theatre. And I was like, oh, you can like interact with the audience. And I didn't know you could do that. And so I was learning so much about like process and making work. And I think there had to be like a time where I had to figure out like, okay, what is like that happy medium then? What does it mean to then be born in Zimbabwe, but then kind of grow up like in the diaspora? And what is like the type of work that then I choose to make? And it's interesting because something in the comment somebody mentioned about like education and like kind of in the curriculum, I had to do a process of kind of learning for myself. I had to understand what is the work that I am tuned in with, what is the work that I'm drawn towards. So then when I went to work with students kind of in drama schools and universities, I've been lucky that I've been able to kind of just reshape some modules and change what like books they're made to read, because I was like, well, they're not really going to learn about a wide range of making work. They'll specifically learn about making work in a British context. That's not necessarily going to help when you have like a cohort of students that are like from around the world, and they need to know that in terms of kind of their own personal expression as creatives, that it isn't just kind of fixed in this one box, because that's not who they are as artists. It's not kind of giving them the opportunity to discover who they are in terms of making work and how they want to kind of talk about themselves and expression. And it's been interesting because I've been doing some marking for the Guildhall this last week, and there've been so many students who are just kind of confused about how to express themselves. They have all the right components, but they don't know what to do with them because their education hasn't given them like other choices, a multiplicity of choices, and how to kind of tap into like themselves. And I think for me, it's been like this kind of constant process of kind of learning, even kind of working with Moji at Lambda and kind of go in and go, oh, what can we experiment with? And I think that for me becomes like the important thing in terms of kind of making work, is that if we're able to kind of draw in so many other places and then kind of tap into what that African theatre kind of means to you. It's about the performance of your identity, but you have to have a sense of like, what is that identity for you? Primarily like you being the person that is like growing up in the diaspora, like there is work that also needs to be done before I even then kind of deal with like, how am I communicating to like an organization about the work that I am making?
Brilliant. Really grateful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anita, I'll give you 1 minute to say what you have to say, and then we're going to move along if that's okay. Yeah. You're muted.
Hello.
Anita?
Sorry, I just wanted to say that it's a brilliant conversation.
Sorry,
and the idea about the canon and what have you. The ideas about the canon.
My class even started by myself.
I'm sorry, I'm just hearing someone else speaking. The ideas about the canon, we're exploring that in the course that I'm doing, 6 Classics of African Theater, because I think that one of the things that happens is that, you know, there is a kind of sense like we're always needing to make a lot of new work, and absolutely. But the way to think about making new work is to also look at what people were writing about in the past, and to really honor that many people have been through this journey before us. So it's a way of pitching that please come onto my course and let's continue the conversations about Death in the King's Horseman, for example, you know, or the Black Hermit, or whatever, you know, all of these older as it were, I would call them parts of an African canon, actually.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anita. Thank you very much to the audience for all the questions that have been coming in, your contributions and comments. Panelists, thank you so much for all the answers that you've given. We're going to take a minute's break just to get the artists ready. So Ian, if you're going to, could you please play us some drums? And after that, we're going to have a whole lineup of artists that will be performing for us in a bit. So Ian, take it away, please.
So, is this my slot for performance?
Yes, this is your slot for your performance, Ali, but you are the break. Thank you.
Mọ́tòyò sí mo tún ti dé o, ọmọ lẹ́láyé ó gbà. Àjọ òkín ibi gbogbo ló gba lágbára. akíkanjú ni wá nílẹ̀ bàbá wa a ò pé ẹ mọ́rẹ́lẹ̀ àjèjì adédùn ọ̀hún òkòkò bíríkò ṣe bá adájọ́ la jẹ láfunfun adájọ́ la jà tẹ̀sùn mọ́tò yóò sí ìgbà tá adájọ́ la jọ̀rún lálásán kò sóòṣà tí ń bá níjà lẹ́yìn o orí ẹni orí ọmọ ọmọ bá ṣọ̀run. Right. Thank you everybody for listening. Right. I believe that most of all have been hearing or have heard about talking drum. However, we don't really know what the musical instrument is all about and the importance and the significance of talking drum. What is talking drum? Talking drum is a unique musical instrument that mimics the language and interprets human voices. However, talk of the importance and the significance of talking drum, it is unquantified. In the olden days, talking drum was being used as media, source of media, and that's why when I was interviewed on TV Arise, I told the interviewer that talking drum was the BBC of the time, in the sense that the talking drummer used to convene the messages from the kings and the queens and pass the messages onto the community people. Not only that, the talking drummers were the war front leaders because they used to energize the warriors. So by speaking to them, trying to motivate them at the war front. And due to that fact, so many wars were won by the people that used the talking drummers. Now, we use talking drum to call names. We use it to welcome people, to praise people, to entertain people, as well as to abuse people if need be. Because as a talking drummer, if my wife divorced me and you married my wife, or you're having an affair with my wife and I get to know, I will abuse you. And if I'm playing for you and performing for you for up to like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you do not give me money because you didn't buy any ticket to watch me performing, I will use my talking drum to abuse you indirectly. So now, these are just few things we can say about the significance and the importance of talking drum. But the sad part of it is the unique musical instrument called talking drum is not really famous in the Western world. And that is the main reason why I've taken it upon myself that I need to propagate it and promote it to the highest level. And to God be the glory of them able to achieve just tiny bits. We are still working on it. We are still working on it. So now let me use the talking drum to call some names. But before I do that, the talking drum is going to welcome you. Like I said earlier on, we use talking drum. Talking drum mimics the language and interprets human voices. So my drum just say, welcome, you are wonderful. You are wonderful. How are you? So when I say, how are you? I'm very well. You repeat, I'm very well. Even though I cannot hear you, I'm very well. How are you doing? I'm doing fine. How are you? I'm very well. How are you doing? I'm doing well. Also, we use talking drum to for different social gatherings, like naming, wedding, housewarming, coronation, anniversaries, chieftaincy, whatever. And yes, and on this particular, like I said earlier on when I did my introduction, now I'll be working with some people how to use talking drum and the significance of talking drum, and that's what I can say about my talking drum. But before I go, let me play some reading for you. Mojísọ́lá ìlú fowójù. Mojísọ́lá ìlú fowójù. Chinwe Chiana. Ọládìípọ̀ Agbólúajé. Débọ̀ Olúwatùmínínú. Olúṣọlá Oyèlẹ́yẹ. Olúṣọlá Akíngbọ́lá. How are you, everybody? Thank you very much for listening. God bless.
Well done, Ayan. Thank you, as always. Very impressive. Thank you so much. Estella, come on the stage, please. Thank you.
Hello. So I have my my director here with me. He's down here, just in case. Wonderful. I'm going to be doing a piece called Wait by Dipo Agbalwegi. I apologize for the extra sound. I was an excellent student. I scored the highest mark in the entrance exams to secondary school, the first girl in my village to do so. My fellow pupils, boy and girl, congratulated me. My teacher told me the sky was my limit. Awaiting me was a scholarship to attend the government college. Doors were opening wide. I could not wait to hold the admission letter in my hand. It started raining heavily. People scurried and walked on the side of the road, and the road became a river, and I laughed as I splashed in the river on the way to the headmaster's office to begin the next chapter of my destiny. But the headmaster decided on this occasion that second place was better than first place. I asked him why. He told me I was rude to question him. He told me to wait outside my office. There, he caned me and sent me home, howling to my parents. At home, mother smiled with a knowing nod that looked as if it was tipping a heavy load from her head as I told father what happened. Father put on his shoes and followed me back to the school to meet the headmaster. Oh, the pride in my heart that my father was standing up for me. I kept repeating to myself all the way back to the headmaster's office. Headmaster, just you wait. Headmaster, just you wait. Headmaster, just you wait. Ah, headmaster, just you wait. At the headmaster's office, my father bent his head in shame and groveled an apology for my behavior. He slapped the disbelief from my eyes and ordered me to kneel and beg the man who had blocked my destiny. He said he did not know who put the idea in my head that I would continue my education, that I would follow my sister into early marriage. Did I need a certificate to pound yam, to sweep the floor, to get pregnant, to cater for my husband?
Just you wait till we get home. I will deal with you for disgracing me. Leave! Disbelief had ceded to anger as I crumbled to my knees. On the way home, over and above father's insults, I had resolved that no one would decide my future again. I was a girl, but in me beat the heart of a woman. A woman is not a child. Wait. Thank you, everyone.
Amazing. Well done, Estella. That was breathtaking. Thank you so much. And your director was amazing as well. Thank you. John Roathomac, I'm sorry I've delayed you a little bit, John, but please take to the stage.
No. Absolutely fine. Thank you. Yeah, Estelle, that was amazing. Thank you. So yeah, I wrote this poem. It was intended for a play, which actually Moji directed, and Akim was a movement director, and Lee was the sound guy on it. So it's great. Some of the team are here, but it never made it. So it's been sort of released as an independent piece by itself. It's, for me, it sort of looks at the beginning of what the racism that's happening against Black people and other things that took place in Africa, colonialism and all that stuff. Sort of, it's looking at the beginning of that, and it stops at a certain point, which helps the play. But let's ignore the play. I'm just gonna read it, and yeah, read it. Here we go. White man. Oh, it's called White Man, by the way. White man, come and teach me your civilized culture. White man, come and educate me on your beautiful language. White man, come and impregnate me with your faultless religion. Oh, white man, come and walk me through the principles of living a good life. Oh, come, dearest white man, I invite you into the comfort of my heart. Come and teach our politicians the democracy of power. Come, white man, come hold my hands and guide my fingers on the etiquette of writing history. Oh, come into my house and afford me the respect of naming my national resources after your kings, queens, princes, and princesses. Nalubale, Victoria. Rutanzige, Edward. Mwitanzige, Albert. Dweru, George. Now that my land flows with your vernacular and my mind reads your language, teach me the sacred meaning of the scriptures of your holy book, how those very words contradict. Nurture me in using the same book to preach peace, and in the next page, stimulate a war. Teach me, white man, oh, teach me. Rip another verse out of that page and lead me through the journey of obedience, from king to slave. And now, help me distinguish between black and white. How with white comes independence, freedom, and birthright. With black, the entanglement of persecution and oppression. Oh, you can't go yet, white man. You haven't yet taught me the greatest art of them all. Teach me how to hate my brother. Train my mind how best to capture his children and sell them to you. Or teach me how to go to war with him. Not with these ancient spears, bows, and arrows my ancestors used, but with these bullet-firing metals you gave me in exchange for my brother's children. Now that the transformation is done, be gone and let us kill one another. Yeah, thank you. That's the poem called Fagon. There's also a video version of it which we've made, which you can find on YouTube. Yeah, it's there, called White Man. And yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you, Chiwe.
You're welcome, John. Thank you so much. As usual, just beautiful and powerful performance. Thank you so much. Patrice, I believe you're ready for us now.
Yes, hello everybody. How you doing? I've had to adjust can you see me? Everybody okay? Yeah? Yeah, great. I just wanted quickly to, before I give, I want to respond to a couple of things that have been coming up on the chat, and also what Juan mentioned, and a couple of other people about the diaspora canon and so on. I think I would like to just give a shout out to two particular artists who are not here. Of course, there's amazing artists all over the place. And one, his name is Ibrahim Mohamed. He is an artist from Kumasi, and he's quite well known, you know, done the Tate and all these places. But he's also established the Savannah Center for Contemporary Art, located in Tamale, Ghana. It's an artist-run project space for exhibition, research hub, cultural repository, and an artist residency. I mean, he's built this, he's just gone and built it. And now he's working and he's collaborating and so on and so forth. This is an example of addressing the whole issue of training, getting artists together so that we can address these questions and engage with them. Another person is Sona Jobate. Sona is a kora player and a trained musician, and she has a career, but she's gone back to the Gambia and she's established the very first kind of arts education institution of its kind in the Gambia. So you have your academics, but music and culture is absolutely key and central to the whole ethos of the establishment. So I just want to throw those two people out there to say, you know, people are doing it, man, you know, and we can take inspiration. Just go to the websites and you can catch those guys, see what they're up for. They have opportunities for volunteers. They need more people to get on board. Yeah, so I just thought I'd just mention that because I think the diaspora canon is there. Shola mentioned, you know, what is the canon? Okay, it can intersect with the Western canon and it can stand aside decolonially. Why not? You know, we have our own issues to deal with on that continent and as a migratory people, and we have to address it, and we need our own institutions. So let's say the last 3 years, I've had the honor and fortune to be in 5 African plays. One was Tree, directed and facilitated by Kwame and Idris at the Young Vic. Then there was Secret Lives of Baba Segi. Then we had New Nigerians by Depo. And what else? Yellow Day of Etsy by Utopia. Moji was directing that, and Kainde was in that. And have I left out? So those are plays and productions that I've been in. Now, the experiences of those plays, that's just 4 or 5 plays. The experiences of those plays, the artists in those plays, we also need space to record our experience and to put them down and to document them. The aesthetics, the process that went into that, Secret Lives of Baba Segi's Wives was a real amazing example of this reciprocity from the audience. It completely sold out at the Akolu Theatre every single day of the run, every single day. So we can look to what is already being done, because we're all institutions. Every artist here is a library, is an institution of knowledge, of sensibilities, of questions. If these libraries, whether they're in a building, you don't even need to be in a building. They are a spiritual library where we're communicating and we're meeting and we're sharing and exchanging. That's how these processes of training and so on and so forth, how we're going to do them, how we're going to fund them, the culturepreneurship that we're going to need, as Kinde was talking about. There's some urgent issues in Africa. Sustainable livelihoods. We have to talk how we do it, because I know every single person here also has to be a producer, also has to maybe stage manage, also maybe has to market. So we are not just workers. The artist is a producer as well. We produce wealth, we produce riches. Maybe it's time to start seeing by talking to each other more, rather than trying to hustle on our own. So many of us are on our own. We need to be in the same space as we are now.
Thanks, Patrice. Thank you.
Yeah. I haven't finished. I've not finished. Are you kicking me out?
No, I'm asking you to start performing. Thank you.
Oh! You don't like plenty talking. All right. So, performing. All right. So I'm going to come to another instrument, which is a condi. It's a type, it comes from the family of thumb piano. Okay. I'm just going to show a little movement, very, very simple movement, but how that movement works towards training, how you can train. Okay, fine. So you remember I told you about how an instrument can take me in to spaces of learning, and whoever is teaching me that, all right? So how can I put that into a performance or into storytelling? Well, first of all, the fact that I've had to come down, okay, and put my body into the ground and move and create a rhythm with my feet and listening. So I'm developing a listening. The music is going tam to tam 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 tim tam tam to tam 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 tim tam, and the rhythm is going ticking tinka tinka tinka. But what also is happening is my hips. I'm maintaining my hips, right? I'm not going up and down and everywhere. Okay. So then the other thing that's happening is your breathing. The other thing that's happening by doing that is relaxation. Yeah. So all that's happening just from that. You do that for 5 minutes and you've had a fantastic warm-up. If you are prone to low mood, you can get out of your low mood. You see what I mean? So there's so many things that can go just from there. You can also create ensemble. So everything you can do solo, you can do with people. Take it. You got people all around you, the ensemble, shoal of fish. Okay? So now, how might I put that into a piece? So this is going to be about just about 90 seconds, 2 minutes or so. And it comes from The Man Who Committed Thought, which is a solo piece. And there's 5 characters. One of the characters is a lawyer who is always being pestered by a peasant. So Straight away, this is the lawyer. So I find a body for the lawyer. He's an anglicized guy. Oh, for goodness sake, Mamadou, what's the problem? I've told you before, Mamadou, that nothing in life is for free. Mr. Lawyer, please, hey, trouble don't come, oh, trouble don't come, Mr. Lawyer. Oh, Mr. Lawyer, Prime Minister Janta, he came to my land and they beat us and they drove us from my land. I managed to escape with my 2 cows and my family, but one of my cows went back onto the land. So I went to Prime Minister Janta. I said, Prime Minister Janta, where is my cow? And he told me, Mr. Lawyer, that my cow had died. I said, how did my cow die? And he told me, Mr. Lawyer, that my cow had held its breath till it died. I said, can I have the body of my dead cow at least? And he told me, Mr. Lawyer, that my cow was now warming his belly. And when I asked him for the skins of my dead cow, he told me, Mr. Lawyer, that they were now shoes and he was wearing them. So I said, well, can I have the shoes, Mr. President? And he told me that I had to pay him 15 pounds. 15 pounds? I only earn £1 a month, and out of that, I have to buy food and clothes for my wife and all my children. Mr. Lawyer, please help me. It's a very expensive business being poor. Well, I dare say I might be able to help you, Mamadou. Anyway, so you can see from that extract, right, where I've gone from the movement, from merely practicing, till I've managed to get the idea that the peasant should be quite small, so I'm sinking into the ground. By that practice, I'm able to move, right? And also, because I'm trying to learn from African traditional dancers, because I'm not a dancer, I've understood that there's something about the curvilinear, the spine, and the elasticity necessary, the fluidity necessary, the relaxation necessary, the spirituality necessary to combine my breathing into my body, into the storytelling, and into committing. Yeah? That's it. I don't want to take up too much time.
Thank you. Well done. Lovely. Thanks a lot, Patrice. That was beautiful.
Was that clear? Did you hear everything?
Absolutely. You were very clear. You were very clear.
Okay.
Thank you
That's
so
it.
much.
I don't get
for
any
that.
more.
Oh, thank you. We'll have more later in the program. I would love to invite Akeem to the stage, please. Akeem, thank you.
Hi, thank you for having me, everyone. This has been just beautiful to witness and to just be a part of. I'm just going to set up, because I have to put my laptop somewhere else. Okay, so I'm going to share a extract, just a very short part of my solo show, Windows of Displacement. As I said before, I work with movement and I also work with text. So this is Windows of Displacement is about my migration from Jamaica to England, and I also use that situation to comment on the global stratosphere of oppression that takes place. So in this section, I'm likening the transatlantic slave trade to the situation that happened in Calais, in terms of speaking about the movement of people, whether people are forced to move or whether people, they have to move because something horrible has happened. So, some say the future is a mystery, but it's not. If you look into the history, you'll see there are patterns in the biblical bigotry. It's his story. A people living in their lands, living how they feel to be. A system insists something not right with their living, so it best start intervening. A system working with ideas heartlessly executed through greed. Hence, war is waged to cultivate wage, and nationalism sends youth to them grave day by day. So, bombs are sent to their homes. People are taken from their homes and brought to a new land against their will. People travel to a new land as they have no choice. Their homes have been destroyed and their families killed. They have no will but the will to survive. So, they rebel. That's it. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Akim. What beautiful body work there. Thank you so much. Kehinde, please come to the stage, Kehinde.
Hello. Hello. Excellent performance, everyone. I'm really learning, enjoying every single words that have been spoken. I'm going to refer to, I think, I can't remember in which order now, 3 things that would relate to what I'm going to be performing. This piece I'm going to be performing now. Madam Elufowoju had said, the Utopia Theatre director had said in the beginning that she embodies Africa. She doesn't need to think about it. She doesn't need to look for it. She carries it around with her. Somebody also, while describing Africa, said a village. I really love that. That stuck. I loved everyone's submissions. And then somebody also said spirit or spiritual. So now this piece I'm going to be performing talks about your head, the power of what we know as Ori, just this your head. In the African culture, in the African way of seeing things, it's not just your head, it's your Ori. Ori, it's your destiny, your power, your strength. Ori is your depth, it is your grace, it's your divinity, it's your being, your Ori. You see this, your Ori, your head. It embodies so much. It's your might. So wherever you go, whether you're home or you're abroad, your head goes everywhere with you. So it's your Ori. Ori agbere pade agbe ori aluko agbere pade aluko. Àyànmọ́ ire ló yàn wálé ayé o. Ọdọọdún làárọ̀ rógbó, ọdọọdún lára Hausa. Bọ́dún bá ti yabo, wọ́n pé kékeré kún náà sókè odò mọ́mọ́ òbí fún wa kí gbogbo àlejò ṣàjọdún ẹ̀. Ọmọ èṣù lábẹ́ ọ̀run, ọmọ jọ̀ọ́ ní gèlè àṣà. Your head, it's so beautiful. Your being, who you are. And now you're African, you're powerful. The sun even knows. So it gives, and it gives you. And you call it melanin, but you're taking, and you keep taking because you're African. That's it.
Ooh, child. That was beautiful. Thank you very much. Really powerful. Zodwa. The next performance is by Zodwa. Thank you.
I've got like 2 poems that I want to share with you, and they're both about my grandmother. And I think kind of exploring like her life and also kind of her use of like traditional performance techniques is what kind of led to me creating Home Has Died, which is like the basis of like the show that I'm going to talk about in my talk. So the first piece is called At Ugogo's House. And in Zimbabwe, like if you're in Ndebele, Ugogo is the word for grandmother. At Ugogo's house, in the township of Ngulumane, we ate with our hands. Watched her cook mealie meal over an electric 2-plate stove. Slowly she would sprinkle vuvuzela, letting the pounded corn fall between her fingers into the pot, thickening the mixture. When ready, she dished the meal, isichwala, into communal bowls. Ukulu, grandfather, would give grace of thanks and love. And together we'd pick sticky segments, roll them with our fingers, dip them into plates of fried spring greens, mopane worms, okra, and stewed beef. Dinner at grandmother's house was eaten while sat on woven straw mats laid on concrete kitchen floors. As we pulled our fingers back from our lips, Ugogo would smile and say, "Abantwana babantwana bami," children of my children. This is how I raised your mother. Eat plenty and be well. Thank you. And the next piece is called Blessing at Dawn. And I think it's in like kind of going back and learning about some of the rituals that were like in my family. I realized actually I'd been part of this ritual, which was done like early morning before we left Zimbabwe for the first time. Blessing at Dawn. In the morning, we were bound for the ocean crossing. Umkolo happened. Ugogo prayerfully announced the spirits to enter. She summoned us, offered our little bodies to the ground, tilted her head back, poured in consecrated water, and baptized the prayer that lay in wait on her tongue. Then, one by one, she came closer to our faces. The morning's light played softly on her spent face. We inhaled the history from her skin. She pressed her lips together, showered her blessing, opened her arms and invited them in. They ricocheted within her, rattled her body. Her being, nearly empty of life, sacrificed itself, chanted for the spirits to go where she could not go. She did not call us grandchildren. She called us children of my children. She'd say, children of my children, because our mother's womb had been an extension of hers. Later that day, the iron bird carried us away from her and carried us away from home. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zodro. What a beautiful piece. Reminds me of my own gogo. Thank you very much. The next performance is by Juan. Juan, take to the stage, please.
Okay, thank you. And it's lovely to hear and see all of the performers. Thank you so much for all the work you've done. It's beautiful. Okay, I don't know if Dipo Oladipo is still around, but if he is, I want to take him down memory lane because I'm going to like perform something from a piece that we collaborated on about, well, 7 or 8 years ago, actually. And this was like with Collective Artists, with Chuck Mike, which happened both in the UK and in the USA. It's a piece called Threshold, and it was inspired by a novel by Amos Tutuola called The Palm Wine Drinkers, which I think was the first novel by a Black African author to make an international impact back in the day. Basically, the premise of the story, which Dipo then sort of like told in his own way and like developed into something completely different, was that the palm wine tapper lost his wife. His wife died, and he pined for her, and he wanted to go and get her, like in the spirit world. And in Threshold, the palm wine tapper's wife is called Oloyin Momo, and Oloyin Momo means the purveyor of the sweetest honey. And so one of the songs that I created for Threshold was a song called Oloyin Momo, which I'll sing for you now. Oloyin Momo mi padà wá kò súnmọ́ mi dúró tì mí o nínú òtútù ní alẹ́ olórí mọ́mọ́ mi padà wá kò súnmọ́ mi dúró tì mí o nínú òtútù ní alẹ́ oyin oyin olórí mọ́mọ́ oyin oyin olórí mọ́mọ́ dúró tì mí o nínú òtútù ní alẹ́ oyin oyin olórí mọ́mọ́ oyin oyin olórí mọ́mọ́ dúró tì mí o nínú òtútù ní alẹ́. Olórí mọ́mọ́ mi padà wá kò súnmọ́ mi dúró tì mí o nínú òtútù ní alẹ́ olórí mọ́mọ́ mi padà wá kò súnmọ́ mi dúró tì mí o nínú òtútù ní alẹ́ oyin oyin olórí mọ́mọ́ oyin oyin olórí mọ́mọ́ dúró tì mí o nínú òtútù ní alẹ́ oyin oyin olórí mọ́mọ́ oyin oyin olórí mọ́mọ́ dúró tì mí o nínú òtútù ní alẹ́ oyin oyin olórí mọ́mọ́ oyin oyin olórí mọ́mọ́ dúró tì mí o nínú òtútù ní alẹ́ oyin oyin olórí mọ́mọ́ oyin oyin olórí mọ́mọ́ dúró tì mí o nínú òtútù ní alẹ́. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you very much. Lovely, Joanne. That's just amazing. We're about to get to the very last act of the afternoon, but before I do that, there'll be our production team is going to be posting a link in the chat for you to just give us some feedback about the day today. And also just to remind you that the program continues throughout the week. Would really love to have your presence. Madeline's workshop tomorrow is sold out, but there's a waiting list. Just go onto the Utopia Theatre Creative Hub website and see what projects you can get into. Before I bring in Ayodele Edwards, I would really like to say thank you very much to each and every one of you who has tuned in, and would really like you again to fill in that feedback form. If you can donate to Utopia Theatre to sustain the Creative Hub, please do so via the website. Next up is Ayodele Edwards, and she's singing us off today. Thank you very much, Ayodele.
Wow, thank you all. This has been so amazing. My heart is really full. Moji, Utopia, God bless you. This is history in the making. Thank you so much. This song I'm going to sing is, I guess when I decided to start putting out myself, I wanted to sing in Yoruba. And I did a translation of a very well-known song just to begin that connection. Can you hear it?
Yes, we can.
Ìgbà ẹ̀rùn àwa sì ń gbé ní ìrọ̀rùn. Ẹja ń fò òwú sìgá. Bàbá rẹ̀ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́, màmá rẹ̀ sì lẹ́wà. Joda ke omomi masukuma. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up and singing and spread your wings and take to the sky. But until that morning, there ain't nothing can harm you. With daddy and mommy standing by. Da, 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 da. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up and singing and spread your wings and take to the sky. But until that morning, there ain't nothing can harm you, you. With daddy and mommy standing by. Woo! Thank you so much, Moji. This has been amazing. The beginning of greater things. Here's the theatre and us doing it. Ìgbà ẹ̀rùn àwa sì ń gbé ní ìrọ̀rùn. Ẹja ń fò òwú sìgá. Bàbá rẹ̀ lówó lọ́wọ́, màmá rẹ̀ sì lẹ́wà. Jọ̀dá kẹ́ ọmọ mi máa sunkún mọ́. Jọ̀dá kẹ́ ọmọ mi máa sunkún mọ́. Máa sunkún mọ́. Máa sunkún mọ́. Masukuma. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was extremely beautiful. I didn't want it to end. Can you hear me, Ayo? Aidale? Yeah. Thank you very much. I'd like to say thank you again to everybody, and I'll just bring Moji back in if Moji is there somewhere, just to give a last word for tonight. Thank you, Moji.
Last word. Thank you all so much. I hope this is all. Thank you all really much. Thank you so much. And I do hope that, yes, we've started the village and that this is the beginning of a huge ranges of collaborations from all of us, and that we would all come together. Like Patrice said to me recently, that we've done things like this in the past, but what we now need to do is to maintain the momentum. There's no point starting something if we just can't kind of build on it. So I think we all need to now do our bits to just kind of build on everything that we do. We now just kind of need to continue to build on it. So I can't thank you all enough. It's because of you that I am. It's because of all of us that we're all what we are. So thank you. And have a fantastic day and enjoy your sessions. And I mean, most of them are sold out. So that in itself shows that there's demand for what we do. Thank you. And thank you for those who joined us. Thanks to the Arts Council. Thank you. Thank you to partners.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Much love.
Moji, no eba or small ginger beer.
You founded young. Okay, we'll serve you some virtually, Patrice.
Just Uber or THL,
After COVID, there's a party, remember? There's a party at the end of it all. By the way, people, there's a party at the end of it all. So, yes.
Please.
Thank you. Please, if I may ask quickly, I wanted to ask for the shows that don't have a waiting list. I needed to give priority to, participants from everywhere that will be registering. So I didn't get to register from the beginning. And now I want to get on to start registering. And I know most of the shows are